Hey everyone, Jim Gonzalez here, EDI Support LLC. It's another wonderful Wednesday. It's nice and 80 some degrees here today in Pennsylvania. Hopefully everybody's having a good week, and it is April 1st. So April 1st, 2026. I could make a joke and say, hey, it's April Fool's Day. Everybody gets EDI for free. But we know that's not true. So today what we're going to talk about is why EDI projects fail and how SMBs can avoid it. So when you're sitting there and you're thinking about all of the different moving parts in an actual EDI project, there's a lot. Most EDI projects don't fail because of technology. Usually every EDI software is decent enough. They could feel outdated, but they do the job. The projects fail because of how they're approached by different EDI software providers that are out there. Sometimes it fails because it's not even due to the EDI provider. It's actually due to lack of preparation, people not being aware that EDI is even involved. So if you're moving ERP systems, and I've seen this numerous times over the years, people are moving EDI or SMBs are moving their actual ERP systems from one to another. And people totally skip out and don't even think of the EDI that needs to be done. Like, oh, we're doing orders and they're coming through EDI. You should be able to set that up in a week. It's not the case. So short selling EDI is going to be very bad and detrimental to most companies. When you're sitting there, you're going to say, hey, let's think about this. So let me ask you this question. As we begin this session, think and answer in comments below. What caused the biggest delay in your EDI project? Did your onboarding take weeks or months? Who owned your EDI implementation internally? So there's different pieces that have to own for EDI, because EDI is automating a business process. So if somebody doesn't really know the business process, how can you automate it? So those are the things that you have to sit down and you have to understand is, have you ever done this before? What does it look like? So what we want to do is we want to take a look at the problem. So SMBs start EDI projects with urgency, the retail requirement, growth to push, all of those things. So what ends up happening is delays, confusion, missing deadlines, internal frustration. All of those things start piling up when you're trying to implement EDI. And when you're looking at EDI and you sit there and you go, hey, this doesn't make any sense. Why is my project being delayed? Why is it starting to fail? Why are we not making the mandatory dates and deadlines that we need to hit? Well, it's because we've seen it across dozens of SMBs. The pattern is surprisingly consistent, and we're going to run through some of these reasons. And these are reasons that we talked about as individuals, with clients, with people that we work with, all of those things. So with that, what we want people to understand is we want people to understand that, reason number one, choosing the wrong EDI model for the business. What does that mean? What does it mean by EDI models? Well, many SMBs fail before they even start because they pick a solution that doesn't match their team size. Is your team trained in EDI or not? Do you have technical capabilities on your team? What's the growth stage look like? All of those things start to happen and you start to have issues and you're not in there and getting things taken care of. So you're not understanding, hey, which EDI model makes the most sense? Do we want a hands-off approach? What do we want to look at? So the things that start to happen is small teams choose complex iPaaS tools and then they're overwhelmed. They're thinking, oh, I can just set up, these different iPaaSes, and there's many of them that are out there, and again, I'm going to name a couple of them. There's Boomi, there's Celigo, there's Jitterbit. There's all these different ones that are out there, and they don't pick the right one. And then they're overwhelmed, and they're thinking, hey, well, I have an EDI person, but have they ever really worked in one of those tools? Have they ever set up EDI in one of those tools? Have they gone through the training? Have they done all of those things for one of those tools? Is it the right way to go? Again, you have to look into your team and see what your team knows and the knowledge behind them. Some SMBs, They buy enterprise solutions. They overpay and they underutilize. They sit back and they're like, oh, well, if I buy the most expensive thing that's out there, that should be able to do everything I need it to do. Well, yeah, it can, but do you know how to operate it? Do you know how to set it up? Do you know how to utilize all the pieces that are involved? Are you ever going to utilize all the pieces that are involved? Most people don't. A lot of the EDI providers that are out there that are managed platforms, as they call them, a lot of them give you all kinds of reporting capabilities. They have built-in AI. They have all these fun features to say and tout in their marketing pieces. But ultimately, do you end up using them? Or are you paying for all those add-ons that you're never going to use? That's reality. The problem is no one internally knows how to manage a lot of the systems. If they do, that's great. It'll lead you down the pathway of being successful. If you don't, that's a problem. Who's going to help you? Do you have an external team member? Do you have somebody that's going to lean on to get you the answers that are needed? The things that I always sit there and think about is, why did this fail? What happened? Who was short-sighted? Who didn't think of, the business processes, the rules, all the different team members that are going to be involved? Did you clear schedules for those team members? Did you clear it by the managers of those team members or directors or whoever to say, hey, I need X, Y, and Z team to be involved? The accounts receivable, I need our shipping team, I need our warehouse team, I need our healthcare claims teams. I need all these people to be involved in my EDI setups and configurations and migrations. So you got to start thinking about that. And if you've never done it before, reach out to a team that's done it before. Reach out to people that have done this successfully numerous times. I want to ask you, did you consult anyone before making a decision on what type of an EDI provider or solution to go with? If you didn't, you've never done it before, then why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you talk to somebody that's done this numerous times? If you're an SMB with 0 to minimum EDI knowledge on a team, a managed EDI service would work better. You just got to pick the right one. You got to pick the one that's going to be in your corner, that's going to be getting your back, making sure that you're taken care of, hand-holding, however you want to look at it. They're your knowledge broker. They're your people that should be bringing that in-depth knowledge. That should be guiding you, should be leading you, should be the one. If you have EDI knowledge in-house, an iPass would probably work better with a consulting organization that helps with initial setup and trains you on it, etc. So think about it this way. You use that consulting group to help you figure out which one makes sense. If you have your own people, you can leverage those people and their knowledge, hopefully, to help you pick the right solution and guide you down that pathway. And if it's a solution you've never used before, look into what training's available. Look into what certifications available. Look into how many different consulting groups or people or individuals are out there that can help you, and maybe leverage them to get steps ahead in that new product or that new platform or iPass or whatever it's going to be. I always say that because we help people with Boomi. We help people, we help them in multiple different ways, whether it's sitting there and guiding them through every implementation, or it's, hey, let us set up the first one. We'll walk you through what we set up, how we set up, and how we did those configurations, and then just reach out when you need help and assistance. There's different models when it comes to Boomi. There's also the fully managed that I had mentioned before. We have Elevate that we do, and our team's behind that. There's many other ones that are out there. Do your due diligence. Look and see what's out there. Reason number 2, wrong or unrealistic expectations from your EDI provider. So here's some of them that are told. During the sales process, SMBs are often told, this will be quick, within 2 weeks. We handle everything. It's plug and play. Are those truly what they do? But what's not clearly explained is how much you need to be involved or your organization needs to be involved. How long trading partner testing takes. What delays are outside the provider's controls. How communication will actually work. Tickets versus real time. What kind of visibility will you get into the progress? It's a silent killer. What stage are you in? What's blocking progress? Who's responsible? Who's doing the project management? Do you get project management with it? Who's keeping the stakeholders at bay? Who's keeping everybody in the know? Is that your responsibility, or is that their responsibility as an EDI provider? I can tell you what we do. Larger projects, we typically bring in a project management individual that'll be from the beginning to the end. That'll keep you involved. We'll do weekly meetings. Sometimes we'll do multiple meetings a week. Smaller projects, one trading partner, we don't typically have an assigned project manager, but our team members that are involved in each and every project knows how to project manage. They know how to lead an EDI project because they've done it numerous times. Or there's an individual that's on there that's done it numerous times. Or I'm in the background. The beauty of it is I try to follow as much as I can. As we're growing, I have other individuals that are helping to oversee things and make sure that, hey, this project's moving along. We have weekly meetings on our side. We have Slack. We have all these things to try to keep your projects moving at the right pace. Now, again, there's things that are out of our control. There's interactions with trading partners, maybe interactions with your third-party providers when it comes to the ERP, the WMS, any of those type of things. So you need to get realistic expectations from your EDI provider and ask them those questions. Why projects fail? No milestones, no tracking, no accountabilities, no resource management. None of those things are done or understood. Or, hey, you'd rather work with a provider that's going to be upfront and say, hey, we've never done this before. Can you bring the knowledge? We'll bring the developers, we'll bring the EDI people, whatever that looks like. Okay. And I've seen smaller groups in the EDI world because I talk to different consulting groups and I talk to different EDI providers that are out there. And we share knowledge and we share horror stories and we share all of these things because guess what? It's making both of our teams better, makes things work better, all of those things that we can learn from each other. And especially if our goal is ultimately customer service and seeing companies succeed, you lead with that value, you're going to be successful. It takes a lot of hard work, but you're going to be successful. So along those means and those ways, we're going through and we're saying, okay, when do you typically have a project manager involved? What are you looking at? So if you don't have those milestones, if you don't have the tracking, if you don't have accountabilities and resource management and all of those things, what ends up happening is the timeline starts slipping. I tell people, listen, if I ask or my team asks for information, an item cross-reference or an item list that's being purchased, okay, if it takes you 2-3 days to get me that item list because you don't even know what product you're interacting with that particular buyer or that particular trading partner, or that you're buying from that particular supplier, well, there's a problem. You haven't truly worked out your business relationship and you're expecting EDI to just fall in. And EDI doesn't do that because it's built off of your business relationship, your business process. What are the things already worked out between you and that buyer, seller, supplier, whatever it looks like, insurance company, all of those things. So if you don't have that figured out, EDI is not going to figure it out for you. EDI is going to just basically remind you don't have it figured out. So responsibilities become unclear. There's frustration that builds on all sides. Whether it's on the trading partner side, it's your internal side, it's all of those things. And what ends up happening? The feelings that you get, this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't what I asked for. This isn't what I was promised. All of those things. Reality is, if your expectations and your provider's process aren't aligned, onboarding will feel broken, even if the system works. So even if the technology is there and the technology can do it, and it's done it multiple times over and over for different clients and different entities, well, the problem is the process can break down because you don't have everybody aligned. So what should you do before signing? Ask, what does onboarding actually look like week by week? What responsibilities are on us and which ones are on you? What causes delays most often? How do you communicate during onboarding? What happens if a trading partner is slow? If you're doing a 50 trading partner migration or implementation or brand new setups, most people don't jump into 50, but if you're doing that, you have it segmented. You have it figured out which ones you're going to group off first, who's in group two, and you start to proper project management is you start to shuffle. So if one of that out of that 5 isn't ready for you, you shuffle somebody from that. The one that's not ready, you shuffle them either to the end or into the next set of grouping, and you move somebody from the grouping that's right behind it up into the new group, and you start working that way. And then again, you keep doing these things as you work through it. It reminds me, I used to play sports back in the day, and literally we would do the ladder drills where you would have somebody leading in the front, then they would go to the back, and then they would take over. So literally you're running 5 people and you're just shuffling to keep up. And really, so what you're doing here is you're shuffling people, you're shuffling management, you're shuffling all of these things, but you're doing it in an orchestrated manner because you're working with a team that's done it before. Reason number 3, no clear workflow before implementation. We've talked about it so many times. So many companies don't have their business processes lined out. They don't have it figured out. They don't have it on paper. They didn't use some type of automated tool like Scribe or whatever to document everything that they do. So they literally are chasing their tails, trying to figure out, what is a purchase order? Where does it go? What does it look like? The teams jump into EDI setup without mapping things out. So PO, EDI, ERP, and vice versa. Or is it PO, email that PO to somebody, and then it's going to go via EDI, or what does that look like? All of those things people need to start to document and figure them out. EDI is to fit in there as a piece of the automation. Different departments aren't aligned. People aren't aware. I've seen it so many times where customer service has no clue that EDI is even being brought on. The sales team pushed it on IT. IT then just said, hey, we can do it. And that's it. And now customer service, accounts receivable, accounts payable, all of these different departments are like, what do you mean you're doing EDI? It's the end of the month. We're trying to close our books. Sorry, we don't have time. Well, or hey, somebody's on vacation because you're a smaller SMB. Somebody's on vacation. They're not here. They can't work on that for the next 2 weeks. It's out of your control. It's out of your hands. So if you do a little bit of legwork and you start to figure things out, and you start to have those internal conversations, and you start to map things out for your workflows, you'll be a lot better off, because what ends up happening is if you don't have all of that done, there's data mismatches, there's confusion during testing, there's rework that needs to be done. And I don't know how many times we've created maps and then had to recreate those maps and then had to adjust those maps because different people start to get involved and different people are speaking to what's going on and what the reality is. So that ends up being an issue. Well, it's not good. It's not the best. So what SMBs should do, map your document flow first, understand what that looks like, talk to all your different people, align your ops, your finance, your IT, everybody sit into a quick little meeting or email or whatever the session looks like and just say, hey, we're bringing on EDI. EDI is to automate our process, whatever process that is. We need to sit down and figure it out. What does it do along that way? So the beauty is modern EDI approaches should start with workflow clarity, not just software setup from your EDI provider. So you can't just go and select a provider and the provider goes, oh, here, you can log in. You're good to go. Well, really, you're not. You're not ready. Reason number 4, dependence on one EDI person for SMBs. So you're just depending on that one person, maybe that you have internally, externally, whatever that looks like. Well, that person's going to get sick. That person's going to have headaches. That person's going to have family things that are going to come up, most likely. So you're dealing with pain. One internal expert knows and owns everything. typically no documentation, and you have no backup. Who's to back that person up? Whether they're internal or external. Then what happens? Well, there's delays then there's knowledge gaps. There's all these things that start to pile up when you're just relying on one person, and that person has no backup and no shared knowledge, because maybe that person, and I've seen this numerous times, thinks that this is job security if I keep this all to myself. It's not job security. Like I tell my team and I tell new people that come into the company, hey, listen, this is a team. This is a team effort. This is not an I. We all are a team. You may be an individual that works with one particular client or with multiple different clients, all depending on what you're doing that particular day or week or month. But other people on the team need to be able to pick up, because maybe you get sick. Maybe your family member gets sick. Maybe, God forbid, something happens to you more serious. We can't let a client falter because we don't have somebody available. So what do? Is you document your processes. You reduce your dependency on certain individuals, and you start to get backups for that particular individual. Documentation. That way people can jump in. There's all kinds of tools that are out there. There's all kinds of things that'll help with automating your documentation or your SOPs or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so do that. The shift we're seeing is toward models where EDI isn't dependent on a single internal resource, but a team who acts as your outsourced EDI department. I've said this numerous times in videos where people are sitting there and they're going, oh, well, the guy's been on the team or girl's been on the team for 20, 30 years and they've done a great job and they've done all these things. Okay, eventually that person's going to retire. It's going to happen. We all do it, or we all look forward to it. Not that I'm ever going to retire, but we all do it. We all look forward to it. So just understand that we're having a lot of people that are reaching out and saying, we used to rely on one person. We found a lot of issues with that, a lot of delays in our orders, a lot of delays in our EDI, a lot of things that were happening because the person would go on vacation and we had nobody. So think about that. Reason number 5, ticket-based communication without ownership. So you're just sending it into the ticketing abyss. You're sending in your email, you're logging in your case online, and it's just going somewhere. You don't know where. It just goes somewhere on the back end. It goes to the cloud, as that famous movie had it. It's all on the cloud. So what ends up happening is you're pain. You're in ticket queues, slow responses. There's no urgency. Because maybe at those certain EDI providers, they got 50, 60, 70 clients that they're dealing with that they got to oversee. And all of a sudden, 10% of them hit them all up within 1 hour. So that's 7 companies reaching out to you all at the same time and all want your attention. So it's that number of people on an EDI team to number of clients or number of projects or number of integrations. So small issues end up taking days. Onboarding stalls. You don't know who's getting back to you. You don't know who you're interacting with. The way we try to suffice that is we always have a human. There's always humans. You may have a ticketing queue that's on the back end, but you're always having a human on the front end that is leading the charge, overseeing the department, overseeing all tickets, overseeing all of those things to make sure resource allocation. We've also implemented where our team that's handling support is meeting every morning before the day even starts to review any tickets that have carried over from the day before looking at any of the emails that have come in for that day or that came in overnight while the team was out. We don't run a 24/7 operation because I believe in the whole work-life balance. I know a lot of people don't believe in it. A lot of people talk about it. We truly do it. You're going to get my team from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, unless there's a special circumstance that you need us on a Saturday or Sunday, and we'll have to work that out well in advance. But that's how my team works, because I always say this, nobody dies if EDI doesn't flow. Is it a mess? Is there an issue? Is there things that give headaches? Yes. But do you want the team members that are working on you to be nice and refreshed and feel like they can jump in and work on you? Or do you want them stressed out, overwhelmed, being those people that are short-tempered and all of those things? You don't want that. There's plenty of them out there. You're not going to get that with EDI support. You're going to get people that are refreshed, they're ready to help, ready to hit the ground running. So how do you fix that? Someone has to own the ticket resolution. Somebody has to be proactive in communication. There has to be real-time updates. There has to be meetings on the back end where the teams are talking and working as a group and working seamlessly to get you to resolution. And that's what's happening at most good companies. You know, support models need to evolve from reactive to proactive. You need people like we do with Elevate. My team is constantly scanning any notifications that are coming through for our Elevate clients. They're looking at those error notifications. They're seeing if some of them are just warnings or some of them are actual issues. And they're sending out emails and saying, hey, do you got this? Are you okay with this? Do you need us to look at that? So that the client knows there's somebody that's overseeing it. There's somebody else that's seeing that issue. And you're not having to reach out to my team and say, did you see this issue? We've seen it. We're aware of it. As long as it's in between, like I said, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, we got you covered. If it's outside of that, we'll get you covered the next business day. And typically we get you covered pretty quick once that business day kicks in. So it's those type of things. It's understanding what that looks like. It's understanding how you have humans. And a lot of people are leading with well, I got AI, I got bots, I got all these things that are going to handle and answer and all those things. That's great. But where we're at right now, you still need a human oversight. You still need people taking a look at it. You can't just hand everything over to AI. It's not going to work. You know, reason number 6, trading partner testing bottlenecks. The pain is slow partner responses, repeated testing cycles, unclear requirements. So you're testing out things that you're never going to do. So imagine if you're actually shipping your product and your product always goes to a warehouse. It never goes straight to a customer's house. Imagine the trading partner saying you got to test to a trading partner's house. Well, that's a whole different cycle of business processing in an organization. Some organizations aren't set up for that. So they have to scramble. You know, and what ends up happening? Onboarding delays, missed compliance deadlines. Maybe you have to pay for more testing. People are unhappy. So you basically have to line out with your trading partner and say, listen, these are the things that we should be testing for because this is what we do in our business relationship. We don't want to test for the what ifs because the what ifs haven't happened. If we want to test for those, let's test for those when we truly do it. Unless you're forcing that as a mandate, trading partner, that this has to be done because everybody's going to be shipping direct to customer and no longer to a warehouse. Now that makes sense. So run through those things. You know, the easiest fixes are structured testing approach, active follow-ups with your EDI provider, phased onboarding so that you're not trying to onboard 50 at once or, you know, more than what you can handle or your team can handle. So you got to understand that. Again, that also leads into resource allocation, project management, all of those things. You can see the theme is kind of the same. You know, the best implementations actively manage trading partner communication instead of waiting on it. So if we don't hear a response from a trading partner, we're typically retroactively reaching out to that trading partner within 24 to 48 hours. That's our rule of thumb. If we don't hear from you, 24 to 48 hours. We don't hear from that, 24 to 48 hours. What's going on? Where are we at? What can I do? We're pushing. We're trying to push as best we can without making people mad. There's a little fine line there. Reason 7, ignoring the business impact. You know, EDI is treated as a technical project instead of a business initiative. How does it affect your business? EDI has a major effect across a business, all over the place. receiving money, sending shipments, sending claims, processing insurance. There's just so many different aspects, depending on what industry, depending on what you're dealing with, that are affected in your business. So you have to think of this as a business initiative, because hopefully, as long as it's done correctly and successfully, you'll be able to process more business with less people physically. So you'll be able to do more business with less people, or less people with a lot more business. It all depends on how you look at it. There's two sides to the coin. What ends up happening is leadership's not involved, delays not escalated, and priorities are misaligned. Your CEO, your CIO, CTO, all the C's, they have no clue about that EDI is even being brought in. They need to know about it. They need to be aware of it. They need to understand automating business processes can save them and make them a lot of money. And time equates into money. The big things there is real impact. Your delayed revenue, missing retailer opportunities, operational inefficiencies. You got retailers that are just not happy. Listen, you're not doing EDI yet. I'm sorry, but we got to slow down our ordering because we handle everything through EDI. We can't keep sending you emails or PDFs or doing those type of things because it's not advantageous to us. Maybe their profit margins are already slim and they don't want to be adding people to the process because they've already spent so much time and money setting up EDI on their side. So think about that. Understand it. And the biggest things that I always want people to understand is what successful EDI projects do differently. Well, we start with workflow mapping. We assign clear ownership. We set realistic timelines. You can wish timelines all you want, but we're going to speak realistically. We're going to tell you what can be done and what can't. We're going to maintain that visibility. We're going to communicate proactively, and we're going to onboard in phases. I know you want to try to get it all done in one big swoop. It's just not going to work that way. Onboard it in phases. 1 to 5 trading partners should be max when you're doing EDI for the first time. 1 to 5 trading partners typically should be max when you're doing migrations. Doing lump sum groupings is not the way that you can do it. You can do it that way, but it's going to cause headaches and havoc. I tell people that all the time. We let it up to the client to tell us, but our job is to explain to them where the pitfalls are. The most successful SMB implementations follow a structured, guided approach, not a reactive one. So you're sitting there and you're understanding that, hey, listen, we're here to help you. We're here to walk you through it. We're here to give you structure, whether that's a dedicated project manager or an EDI person that's done project management before. My closing thoughts are, if your EDI project is delayed by months, it's not just an IT issue. It's a revenue issue. When you're sitting there and you're understanding that most EDI failures aren't because EDI doesn't work. They're because the approach doesn't fit the business. It's not taking care of and checking off the boxes of what you need. EDI is implemented with hundreds of thousands, millions of businesses across the world. Why can't it be implemented with yours? Some of the things that I just went through today will explain that. Some of the things that I took you through will explain that. So go through those. If you have questions, reach out. I'm here to help you. I'm here to do whatever I can to help you out. Looks like we just got a question. Hi, Jim. Dom here. Just wanted to ask, when an EDI van is trying to onboard your customer, a supplier to their hub, and you're doing what you do, but the onboarding van doesn't get back to you. So a little bit of technical thing here, Dom. So EDI van, EDI mailbox, that's how I typically look at it. It's a value-added network so that people know what that stands for. So when you see van, EDI mailbox. Okay. So EDI van is trying to onboard your customer, a supplier, to their hub. So typically maybe it's like a commerce hub or something of that nature. And you're doing what you do, but the onboarding van doesn't get back to you. Typically, what I do is I go back to the buyer. I typically tell them, get your buyer involved and work with that buyer. Ask that buyer with what's going on and explain to them, or supplier, and explain to them, hey, listen, your person or team that you're outsourcing your EDI to is not getting back to us. I need you to light a fire under them. Because you got to remember, the relationship is on that side is with them, not with you. So if you're dealing with a buyer who pushed that EDI initiative, or a supplier that pushed that EDI initiative saying you need to get this done, you need to reach out to whoever's paying that EDI van. So here's another one. On some technical / process related questions, how do you get past that? Well, I get past it again is because I reach out to my company, the SMB company, my client, whoever I'm dealing with, and I say to them, hey, listen, we need to get your buyer on the other side, supplier on the other side, to push their EDI van or their EDI provider and light a fire under them to get them to do something. A lot of businesses are like, oh, you can't do that. I don't want to reach out to the trading partner. I don't want to make them mad. No, listen, they need to be aware of when things are being slowed down and held up. So you have to put the onus on who's responsible for slowdowns, for things not coming on board. And if you try to not do that, and you try to not talk to the buyer or supplier and tell them that their EDI provider or EDI van is difficult to work with or slow to respond, they need to know that, because maybe they don't hear that because others aren't telling them. So that's typically how I handle it. Is because again, I don't really have the skin in the game per se of that relationship between buyer and supplier, between the two trading partners together. If you look at it that way, the two entities that are trying to link up EDI have the true skin in the game. So they need to handle that directly between the two of them. So hopefully that helped you out, Dom. And yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions? Didn't see any others come through. So I seen that for Dom. But what I wanted to say and leave everybody think about is find those people that you can trust. Do your due diligence. Look out there. Get somebody that, again, can help you in whichever way you're going. If you can't find that person, reach out to me. We're here at EDI Support LLC. We've been helping people for decades. We've been a company now for 8 years, which is crazy to say. And I've been doing this for over 28 years. So we're here to just provide knowledge, lead you down the pathway of, hey, do your own due diligence, look what's out there, do some research. We have plenty of references. We got Google reviews, G2 reviews now. We're going to be getting Gartner reviews, just to give you some insight. So we got some different marketing things that are happening that are out there. And again, it's to help people. So, but you are welcome, Dom. No problem. I'm glad you were able to watch in on a train. So that's cool, knowing that you were able to watch in on a train. And yeah, don't reach out if you have any other questions, Dom. But I hope everybody has a great rest of their Wednesday and a great rest of your week. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with another session to talk about things. Take care, everybody.
Meet Elevate, the modern cloud-based EDI platform designed for growing businesses that may or may not have EDI experience and deserve better. No installs, no servers, just secure real-time EDI that works for you anywhere. Get EDI compliant with 200 plus retailers like Walmart, Target, Chewy.com, Amazon, and more without the hassle of endless back and forth. Elevate automates every document, from purchase orders to shipment notices to invoices, so you can focus on fulfillment, not formatting. We set up your trading partners, map your data, and test every connection end to end. Once approved by your trading partner, you go live quickly and confidently. Have an ERP? You can now easily connect Elevate with your ERP via APIs, CSV, or XML, or use any flat files. All systems will now talk to each other. And when you need help, you get real humans, not bots. We're your EDI team, start to finish. Transparent pricing, no contracts. EDI that actually works for you. Elevate your business today with EDI that cares.